What's going on, everyone? Today we're looking at another e-bike. This is the Sabo 2.0 by Hiland Bikes. Looking at the specs, this one has a 350 watt motor, 36 volt 10.4 amp hour battery, Shimano 7-speed shifter, 27 by 5 2.1 tires, front fork suspension, mechanical disc brakes, and weighs 65.48 pounds. The one I have here is in a gray color, but also comes in a blue and black color, which doesn't look bad, but I like the slick, dark appearance of this one a lot better. This bike does not have any integrated lights, but they do include this one here that mounts on the bars. Most lights that I've gotten on most e-bikes usually aren't that great. They look like they're gonna be bright, but the throw distance is usually pretty weak. I mean, they work for visibility, but as far as seeing the road and seeing better goes, they usually aren't that good. So in most cases, you're gonna end up buying a external light that mounts on the bars anyway, so this isn't a big issue and works for me. I love the top loading battery that this bike has. To me, this is much easier to use compared to most e-bikes where it loads from the bottom. When it's from the bottom, it gets a bit trickier as the wheel can often get in the way. But with this, there's a lot of space and it's real simple to insert and remove. Thanks to the black accent here, it also ties in with the battery and blends into the design very well. This e-bike does have one of the more basic screens that I've seen on any e-bike so far. But considering this is a budget entry-level e-bike, I think it's perfectly fine. It shows your speed, your odometer, your battery power. Yes, it's nice to have a nicer full color screen, but at the same time, when you're riding, it really doesn't make much of a difference, so this works fine as well. On front, they have the Hiland Bike logo, but my last name is Hernandez, so we'll just say that's H for Hernandez, and anybody asks, I'll just say this bike was custom painted and designed for me personally. Lastly, I love it when e-bikes have the kickstand back here. I tend to push bike backwards if I'm trying to maneuver it somewhere, and when it's closer, as the pedals are rotating backwards with the wheel, it'll tend to hit the kickstand and jam up. But when the kickstand is way further back here, you can rotate it backwards as much as you want. You never have to worry about that problem. So that's a small thing I always appreciate having on my e-bikes. As far as cons go, overall for an entry-level e-bike, this looks and feels very well built, so I don't have much to complain about yet. The only thing I'm not a fan of was the pedals, which are plastic. Basic metal pedals can be found on Amazon for less than $20, which means they have to cost $10, even less for a manufacturer. So I feel like that's a component they could have easily improved on and didn't have to cheap out on. Hydraulic brakes would have been great as well, but considering this bike costs $1,000 or less, mechanical brakes will be fine just as long as they perform and work well. All right, well, it's supposed to start raining out here soon. It's also getting dark, so tomorrow for me, a few seconds later for you, we'll take this bike out and see how it rides. All right, so I just got by the trail by my house, which is about a mile away. And one thing I really like about these non-fat tire e-bikes, or commuter e-bikes as they usually call them, is they're much easier to pedal. I can pedal this with ease. Right now I'm on pedal assist 0, and it's very similar to a regular bike. Maybe about 20% harder, but it's very doable. And if I wanted to just leave this off and get a good workout, I can do that without straining myself. On a fat tire e-bike, you really feel the resistance of those tires and the weight under you, and it's not as easy. So that's one advantage I really like with these smaller e-bikes, and personally, I like these more over fat tire e-bikes. With fat tire e-bikes, they are good for the purpose of handling terrain better and absorbing bumps better, but for a regular ride on the road, I much prefer these. With that being said, since this bike does not have fat tires nor a seat post suspension, it does feel a little jarred. Like when you hit bumps, you really feel them in your seat. Personally, I'm used to having a seat post suspension, so that might be a personal thing, but I would most likely be adding a seat post suspension to this bike to get the best ride. You can get a good, decent seat post suspension for about $100, so if you buy one of these, I'll recommend picking up one of those as well. Well, something's going on over there. Bike path's blocked by looks like an ambulance or a fire truck, another police car behind it. So I guess I gotta find somewhere else to ride today. Hopefully everyone's okay. I don't know what happened, but it looks like the ambulance is about to leave, so I'm just gonna wait here for a little bit and hopefully I can hop on the trail. All right, they cleared the way, so back to the trail I go.
I'm not sure what happened. Maybe that was the easiest way to access one of these houses off the side of the trail. I've honestly never seen an ambulance or police cars parked on the bike trail like that, so I do wonder what happened. One other small thing I don't like about this bike is the hand grips, and I was reminded by that because I forgot to put on my gloves, and they're like they have these weird rubber fins. I guess they're supposed to like help absorb bumps or whatnot, but it just feels weird in my hand, so I would go ahead and change those out as well. All right, let's go ahead and try out these pedal assist speeds. Right now I'm on pedal assist 1, getting about 10.8 miles per hour, 11. Let's jump up to number 2. Now we're getting about 12, 13. Number 3, starting to pick up speed a bit. Now we're at 16 miles per hour. Number 4. For a 350 watt bike, this is not bad. 18 miles per hour. All right, let me slow down. All right, let's go ahead and try it on pedal assist number 5. Should be able to get more than 20 on this. All right, so it just hit 20. I don't feel like it peaked out. I feel like it's kind of limiting me. But then again, I've never ridden a 350 watt bike, but I'm not sure. But we'll see if we can get some more on throttle. All right, here we go. Throttle only, no pedaling. $15. 16, 17, 18. Looks like I get even less on throttle. Looks like it tops out about 19.4. All right, let's try throttle. Let's see pedal as well, see what we can get. All right, pedaling to the max, it looks like I got 21 miles per hour, which is not too bad for a 350 watt bike. Personally, I think a lot of us get tied up in wanting like the fastest and the best e-bike out there, but not everybody needs to go that fast. Like my wife has an e-bike that does 28 miles per hour max, but she never uses it at more than 15 to 17 miles per hour because beyond that, she says it's too quick for her and she doesn't like it. So honestly, I could have just saved the money and got her one of these instead, and she would have been perfectly happy. So for a 350 watt bike that costs $1,000 or less, I'll say it's not bad at all. And if you're not like me and a lot of other people that have the need for speed, this is a perfect option you might want to consider. All right, let's go ahead and test out how these brakes work. Let me try to get it up to speed. All right, so they work, but they're not going to stop you as hard as hydraulic brakes work. Like if you're in an emergency stop, you can't really stop it to where it's going to skid your tires. It'll stop you, but okay, then you know what? Maybe they will stop you till you skid your tires. So they're all right. You just got to push down pretty hard. Not the best and easiest to use, but if you really need to, it'll stop you. Maybe if I adjust the cables, I can get a little more power out of them, but right now they feel a little mushy. In order to get it like that, I really had to push it as hard as I can. So on their website, there is no fenders or rack available for this bike, but I talked to the manufacturer and they said they are going to be releasing fenders and a rack soon. So it'll be great if they not only put those out, but include those with the bike for maybe like $100 more or something, because I really like riding with my bike bag. I carry all my flat tire stuff and small tools, my drink. So I think that'll make this bike a much larger value if it had the rack as well. On their website, they say this battery is rated to last 30 to 50 miles of range. It is a 10.4 amp hour battery, but at the same time, it is also a weaker motor, and it's also 36 volts, so that might be true. I'm not sure. I also haven't used a 36 volt e-bike before, but being more realistic, I'm gonna say you'll get about 20 if you're casually riding at a decent speed, maybe 25. And then if you're going top speed the whole entire way, you're probably gonna get about 12 to 15 miles. One of these days, once it gets nicer out, I'll go ahead and give that a test, but for now, we'll just go based off what I know, based off other e-bikes. Oddly, right now, it looks very dark, like it's 6-7 p.m., but it's barely 4 p.m. It's just been a very gloomy day today, and it's very windy, but fortunately, the temperature is pretty good. We've been here in Chicago about 30 degrees lately, but today we caught a nice day with the 50s, so I had to take this bike out for a run and do this test on it. I already know this bike isn't gonna do very well on off-road conditions, especially with the no seat post or rear suspension, but let's go ahead and give it a try anyways. And yeah, you feel all of those bumps. They all travel right up to the seat. So on the front, it wasn't bad though. So I think if you get a seat post suspension, this will be a pretty good bike. All right, well, overall, for the price, I think this is a good entry-level bike. You're not gonna get the fastest speed or the best components on the bike, but at $1,000 you shouldn't expect that anyways. If you want a better bike, definitely look at something around the $1,500 to $2,000 range. But if you're looking to get your toes wet with an entry-level e-bike, this is definitely a good one to look at. For $1,000, I'd say it's a good value. And if you like speed though, like I said, you want to go something that goes a little faster. But if you're like my wife, who only wants to go casual riding speeds and put in some extra workout, this would be a solid bike for you. One thing I wanted to point out about this bike is I've received many bikes now going from cheap to more expensive. And while the assembly process was very usual with this one, which included putting on the back tire, putting on the handlebars, very basic normal things, there was no damage at all on this bike. I looked at it top to bottom, and it was 100% mint. Usually you have a small scuff or scratch somewhere, but this one did not have any issues. And I think one of the things that helped with that is this bike came double boxed. So you have to open the outside box, then open again the inside box. And that in general just gave it a lot of protection. Inside was also packed very well. Everything was covered up and nicely packed. So huge props for them as a company, actually taking the time and putting the extra thought into packing and shipping their bikes. All right, well, I think that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you guys have any questions about the bike or have anything you'd like to see, just drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.